All right, guys, for today, we're going to look at time cards and taking what we learned yesterday and learning how to read a time card and then kind of putting all that together to calculate some different things, okay? So first thing, just to review, weekly is 52 paychecks per year. Biweekly, that's 26. Some of you struggled with that one a little bit. Monthly would be 12. Semi-monthly is 24. Time and a half, hourly rate times 1.5. And double time, hourly rate times 2. All right, that's stuff we learned yesterday. All right, when we're computing things, we know not everything works out beautiful and perfect, right? We don't always work exactly 8 hours. We don't always work, exact number of hours, whole hours. We're only going to break them down into like quarters for as far as what we're doing today. So if you work 15 minutes, what would you write for how many hours that was? 0.25. That's a quarter of an hour. All right, and that's going to be really big as we go into time cards, that you can kind of start thinking that way. And the easiest way to think about it, when you talk about time, the clock that's not right now, but if I would tell you it's quarter after, what does that mean? It'd be like 8:15, right? If it's quarter after 8, 8:15. So you got to think about how you would word that. 30 minutes is how much of an hour? Say that again. 0.50. That's just weird that you stuck an extra 0 on the end of that. I'm like, wait, what did you just say? So 0.5, yeah, you weren't wrong. It's just a random 0 on the end. 45 minutes, 0.75. Right, a lot of times say it's quarter till because it's 15 minutes until the next hour. All right, so make sure you have that in front of you. If that does not come naturally to you, circle that, star it, whatever, so you don't forget. That's what you have to be using when you're talking about that many minutes. All right, so we're going to go through and we're going to figure out time. Now, some of you are probably going to be great at this, and you'll be able to just look at that and kind of count the time and not have any issues. Some of you may struggle with that, and I'll show you an alternate way to do this. I'll show you kind of both ways. So for Monday, February 2nd, we have an in and out and an in and out. Why would you have 2 in and outs? Good. You got a lunch in between there, right? You get that half-hour lunch break. All right, so for me personally, when I do these, I kind of like go one chunk and then the other chunk, and then I add them together. That's the way I do it. So from 10 to 12 is how many hours? 2. And then from 12:30 to 5, that's 4.5 hours. So altogether for that day, you worked 6.5 hours. Okay, how about Tuesday? From 9 to 12. Thank you. This is where you guys talk to me. And then 12:30 to 5, 4.5. So altogether for Tuesday, we worked 7.5. All right, those are not the ones that typically trip people up a little bit. It's where you give me the 45s and the 15s and things like that, where people get a little tripped up. So Wednesday, 8:45 to 12:15. Now, there's a couple ways. Some of you can probably look at that and be like, all right, there's a quarter to get to 9, and then 9 to 12 is 3, and then another quarter. Like, some people can figure that. That's great. If you were good at that, by all means. Other people really stink at that. So what I would suggest is, do you guys know what military time is? Okay, sometimes switching to military time really helps you, because then you can type it in your calculator if you switch to military. So, for example, if I'm talking about AM and things like that, do I need to worry about switching anything to military? No. So for here, 12:15 is how much? That would be 15 minutes is 0.25. So you could type in your calculator 12.25 and then subtract 8:45 is 8.75. So if you need to, you can type that in your calculator. 12.25 minus 8.75 to find out that is 3.5 hours. Just know that sometimes helps people. If you switch them, that helps you kind of just be able to use the calculator then. So then if I do it over here, 5:15, what is that in military time? It'd be 17.25. For military time, all you have to do is add 12. So it's 5 o'clock, add 12, it'd be 17 o'clock, 1700 hours. And then 15 minutes is a quarter, so 25.25. All right, and then 12:45, it'd be 12.45 minutes is 75. So again, if I needed to, I could type it in my calculator, 17.25 minus 12.75 to get that is 4.5 hours. Again, if you are completely comfortable counting out time normal, please do. I mean, I just know some people struggle with that, so I was just trying to give you an alternative. So on Wednesday, how many hours did we work? We worked 8 hours then. All right, Thursday, 8:45 to noon. So if you can count it, great. If you can't, that would be 12. 8:45 would be 8.75, and I could type that in my calculator and subtract them. 12 minus 8.75 is how many hours? Be 3.25. From 12:30 to 5:15, if it helps you to switch to military, the 5 would switch to 17, because you have to add 12 to it. 15 minutes is 0.25. 12:30 would be 12.5, 12 and a half. And then you could subtract. So 17.25 minus 12 and a half, 4.75. And then I can just add those together. So I worked, is that still 8 hours? All right, Friday, from 8 to 12. Well, we know that one's 4 hours. 12:30 to 6, you can probably figure out pretty easily. It's 5 and a half. So we worked 9 and a half. And then Saturday from 10 to 2, that's 4 hours. All right, so then at the bottom it says total hours worked. So what should I do with that? Add them all up. So how many hours did we work? Say it again. Good. Yeah, we should find he worked 43.5 hours. Questions on the time card? I never know kind of like where your skill level is or something like that. Are we okay on how I was figuring out different times? And again, if you're more comfortable to switch to military, do that. If you can just count it by looking at it, that's fine as well. Whatever works for you. Okay? So still looking at the same example, same numbers we just worked with. So let's kind of fill the bottom part in first. So regular and overtime. How many hours were regular? 40. How many overtime then did he have? 3.5. All right, so the rate, regular, it says up here that he makes $10.50. How much does he make for overtime? Good. To figure out his overtime, we have to multiply the $10.50 by 1.5 to figure out how much he makes. So he's making $15.75 for overtime. All right, and we just got to finish filling out the table. So for regular, 40 hours at $10.50 an hour. How much does he make in regular? Good, $420. All right, for overtime, 3.5 hours at 15.75. Be careful on this one. So 55 point what? 13 cents. It comes up 125, right? But no, it's money, we only have 2 digits. So you would round that to the nearest cent. So it would be 13 cents. So then it wants to know his gross earnings. So altogether, how much money did he make before taxes and all that? Good, $475.13. All right, how are we feeling? Hot? All right, let me give you guys some time. I want you to try example 2 on your own. So go through, figure out the time for hours, the total, and then figuring out his overtime and regular pay for his gross earnings. All right, let's go ahead and talk through these hours, because I think some of you got a little frustrated because you weren't getting them to come out right. So on the first one, that one's pretty simple to kind of work through these. So from 8 to 12, we know that's 4 hours. 12:30 to 4:30, another 4 hours. So that's 8. Same thing the next day, so we know it's another 8. All right, so then the next ones are where it kind of got a little iffy. So as you're working through here, could you maybe count on your fingers for some of this? If you don't want to switch to military and do all that, you could. So like 7:45, so you're like 8:45, 9:45, 10:45, 11:45, 12:45. So you can count. That's exactly 5 hours here. So 1:15, so well, I'll show you both ways. So I could count this. So 1:15, 2:15, 3:15, 4:15, 5:15. How long is it from 5:15 to 5:45? That's a half an hour, so it'd be 4 and a half here for 9 and a half. If you like the idea of switching to military, because you can use your calculator, if you would switch that, this one would become 12.45 minutes is 0.75. So same thing there, so you could subtract. Over here, 5:45, 5 would become 17, right? You have to add 12. 45 minutes is 0.75. Here, add 12 to that, so it'd be 13. 15 minutes is a quarter, so 0.25. So then you could subtract them. Okay, so you have some options, whatever you feel is easiest for you. All right, for Thursday, again, I can try the counting on my fingers. 7:30, 8:30, 9:30, 10:30, 11:30. I can't go 12:30, it's too far. All right, so I'm at, what am I at, 11:30? How long is it from 11:30 to 12:15? It'd be 45 minutes, so it'd be 4.75. 12:45 to 6:15, so 12:45, 1:45, 2:45, 3:45, 4:45, 5:45. How far is it from 45 to 15? That's 30 minutes, so 5.5. So we can go ahead and add those together. So 10.25. And then Friday, 7:45 to noon. So 7:45, 8:45, 9:45, 10:45, 11:45, and another 15 minutes, so 4.25. And then 12:30, 4:30, that's just 4 hours, so 8.25. Okay, so add those together, and that's 44 hours. Questions there, because honestly that's the part where I get a little nervous. Sometimes we just go too fast and don't look at it real closely. But if you're unsure, try counting it. And I don't know about you guys, but for me, I picture the clock, and I know some of you probably don't tell time all that great, but can you picture in your mind from like where like 30 is at the bottom of the hour, and then I'm like, okay, I could picture that going around to 15. So I can like picture that that's 3/4 of the hour, like 45 minutes. So it helps for me, I'm a visual person. All right, so filling this part out, regular is 40 hours. So then overtime, we'd have 4. Rate is $9.75 here. And she makes double time. So for her, she's making $19.50 an hour. Nice, right? All right, so for regular, 40 times $9.75, we get $3.90. Overtime, 4 times $19.50, $78. So a total of $468. That's her gross pay before taxes. Can anyone foresee a chapter that will be coming up shortly? Well, we're talking about gross pay. Taxes. Yeah, we'll start talking about eventually how much taxes are coming out for your federal taxes, state taxes, Medicare. Yeah, you're like, whoo-hoo, look how much money I'm making. You ain't bringing that much home, I can tell you that. It ain't what you bring home.